Hi Year 6 and welcome to Friday's geography lesson. I've heard from loads of you that you've been really enjoying the geography lessons, and a lot of you really got stuck into the layers of the earth and the tectonic plates work last week and got really interested in it and finding out about it. And I've seen lots of lovely information pages written and lots of you emails saying that you were very interested. So hopefully you will continue to be interested as we move into some specific landforms. So today we're going to look at mountains, and we're going to look at some of the different famous mountain ranges of the world. So before we do that, a little recap from the last lesson. Can you remember how mountains are formed? Pause the lesson to either write or think about the answer before I reveal it. Okay, so the answer to how mountains are formed lies in one of these plate types. So the tectonic plates of the earth being the different jigsaw pieces that make up the earth's crust. Mountains are formed, most mountains are formed at convergent plates. So where two plates join or meet, they're moving towards one another. They push up against each other and essentially do this. Okay, and they can kind of crumple together and make the different folds of the mountain, the different pieces of the mountain. Mountains take usually a very long time to form, and they can be constantly changing where the plates are still moving. So that's our link to tectonic plates. Now let's think about some different types of mountains. So there are 4 different types, different ways that they can be formed with different names. You might want to make some notes on these because we'll probably need them for next week's learning, and we're going to recap them in next week's geography lessons. So you might want to write down some notes as I'm speaking. You might want to pause and put down some key notes to keep for next week to help you to remember. So the first type, fold mountains. When 2 plates collide and the land is pushed upwards and folded like I've just demonstrated, okay? So the land actually crumples like a cloth. So it comes together and it just crumples up into different folds. Okay, as I said, it would take a long time. It takes millions of years. And one example of this is the Himalayas, which you've probably heard of. Okay, so that's one way, fold mountains. Plates collide and the land kind of crumples and folds together. Another type is fault block mountains. Okay, plates of the earth floating on the mantle may buckle and crack. So remember, the mantle is that second layer down of the earth, hot magma. And so parts of a plate are basically broken. So fractured kind of means broken. Bits are pushed down, bits are pushed up, and so as the whole plate's moving forward, some's going down, some's going up, and the bit that comes up has essentially formed a mountain range. Okay, and an example of this is Sierra Nevada in the USA. Let's look at the next 2 types of mountains. So volcanoes are a type of mountain, okay, or they could be known as fire mountains or volcanic mountains. So you've got peaks formed by a series of eruptions. Now the lava, the molten rock, really hot rock, comes out from inside the Earth's surface in a volcanic eruption. And when this rock cools, it solidifies, it turns solid, and it makes another layer of the ground. So it can gradually build up the mountain, the volcanic mountain. Okay, some volcanoes obviously don't erupt anymore, they're dormant, and some are active, they are still having eruptions. So some examples of volcanic mountains: Mount Etna, Vesuvius, and Mauna Loa. Okay, last type, dome mountains. So the explanation of this is a little bit gross. It's a bit like having a spot that builds up full of stuff but never actually bursts, okay? So it's a swelling of magma. So that hot liquid under the Earth's crust is pushing up. So a little bit like a volcano, but it doesn't actually erupt, okay? So it's just pushing up, never erupts, and it makes a slightly higher surface, which is going to form your mountain, okay? And again, this is millions of years. An example of a dome mountain is called Enchanted Rock, and that is found in Texas in the USA. Now, an important fact about mountains is that a hill, a mound of land, has to be taller than 600 meters to be classified as a mountain. If it's shorter than that, it's actually not a mountain, it's just a hill. So, where in the world do we find mountains? Pause the video and note down anywhere where you know there are mountains. Okay, so you might or might not know where any famous ranges on the of mountains are on the world map. You might have heard of the Himalayas, you might have heard of the Alps, you might have heard of specific mountains in the UK, maybe like Ben Nevis or Snowdon. You might have heard of Mount Everest as being the tallest mountain above sea level at least. So you may or may not know about where these are on a map. And today's lesson is going to be about finding out. So you have got a blank map on the documents, and you need to find some of these specific ranges. So there's 3 kind of jobs that you can do as you go off and be independent. Now, it says using an atlas. Obviously, you might not have an atlas at home, and if you haven't got an atlas, you can use the internet. That will be absolutely fine. So there are different mountain ranges listed here, and I want you to use an online source or a book to find the location of as many of these as you can and label them up on your world map. If you haven't got a printer and you can't print the world map, then you could just write which continent or which countries they cover. So that's your first job. Try to plot on your map these different mountain ranges. The next job is to locate some specific mountains. So this list is the highest peak, so that means the tallest point, the highest mountain in each continent. So the 7 continents of the earth are listed there, and it gives you the mountain and the country where that's relevant. So you could find them on a map, find the country on the map, label that tallest peak, and also find out their elevation, which means how high they are. Once you've done that, if you want a further challenge, you can find out some information about some of the ranges and add that to your map. So if you've got a exercise book at home, why not stick the map across a double page spread, label onto the map, and then around the edge, you can give all of the details and all of the facts you find. You might be able to just fit it on the world map sheet itself if you don't write too much, or you could stick it onto a large piece of paper, or you can make notes in a notebook alongside your map. So there's options. If you haven't got an exercise book and you haven't got a printer, there's options where you can still access the learning. So you might want to find out how long the range is, so how much space it covers, which countries it's in. So lots of these mountains go through several countries, mountain ranges go through several countries, or even create borders like lines between 2 different countries. What's the highest mountain in each peak? And what are the conditions like there? So what would the weather be like? What would it be like to be there? Are there people there? Can people go there or not? So you can get as stuck into this as you want to. But first thing to do is locate all of these ranges and the highest peaks on your map. Then you can go as far as you want to with the learning. Next week, we're going to continue our mountains learning, find out about some specific mountains as well. And we've got a couple more lessons coming next week. So thank you for following. I can't wait to see what you get up to. I hope that you find it really interesting and you can wow me with some mountain facts about these different ranges. Thanks for watching.